going up against Siena College is going to begin right now, and it's really going to see, are we going to see a goal immediately off that spot, or are we going to see a little bit of defense coming from both sides? Only time will tell, and as the timer is going to kick on now, these teams, it's going to come down to this. You really want to take this first game.
Yeah, and it's always about kind of seeing what the other team is up to in this first game. You kind of want to read where they're at, what they're trying to do. So sometimes, first games can be a little of an outlier, and then sometimes the team that might be just a bit better mechanically skilled is able to push ahead after that. But also the team that might be a little bit, down, they might be able to get that momentum early on. I mean, these teams are not too far apart in their MAAC records. It's 3-3 for Canisius versus 2-4 for Siena. So it's really that only one game difference, and Siena almost opened things up here.
Yeah, Krasi and Binos both go for a goal there, but they're unable to find it, as nobody was even in the defensive position. They just unfortunately were not in the right position. I'm Stuff is going to be able to find a save there coming out as well, so now we see almost 3 goals coming out for Siena, but unfortunately none of them are going to be online quite yet.
Not just yet. Now the ball's on the other side of the field. Canisius has had a pretty good attack going for a little bit. That was almost an empty netter. I mean, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. That time, just a bit too unlucky. That was, I think that shows that Canisius, they're just not able to rotate quick enough, and there might be some more open net opportunities for Siena.
Yeah, they definitely want to keep an eye out on those open nets just like that one, but it's going to be Canisius who's able to open this up. A Humble Potato is going to be able to find a goal. A great assist from Glixa there, and it looks like it was a bit of a double tap that actually they missed, and a Humble Potato was able to come in behind and score that goal.
It was a pass, it was calculated. It was meant to happen like this, right? It was always meant to be, but yeah. They are able to get it off the crossbar. They're able to, dribble it enough that it gets passed back to their teammates. And they're just perfect setup, perfect execution, and that was almost Krasi almost just took it all the way to the net by themselves.
Yeah, Krasi almost, it wasn't even an open goal, but Krasi wanted to make it one. Oh, just off the crossbar again, not able to make it up there. Binos shooting just a little bit high. Siena, I feel they've already shot toward goal maybe 6 times, and unfortunately, just none of them have been able to find that goal.
And I'm wondering right now what Siena has to do. I think, we saw from Canisius on their only goal, the only goal we've seen so far is that it's been, a lot of good teamwork. Oh. And I think so far we've just seen the Siena, they've had really good shots, but it's not the same kind of team play. It's just kind of one person hoping that it goes in. The follow-up is not there. You need to have everyone rotating to try to get a rebound shot there. And now,
absolutely.
Canisius, they're going to be on the attack.
Canisius pushing on the attack, and this is where they really start to shine, but a Humble Potato goes a little bit to the left of the goal. Here comes Stuff with another attempt of Binos with a phenomenal save there. And now Binos has an open goal all across the side. Going to be able to score and tie things up. Just over 2 minutes off the clock here. Going to be tied up 1-1, which, as I always say, is in Rocket League essentially just a complicated 0-0.
Binos, they're just able to find the corner of the net, and I said it earlier, Canisius, they can play really well on defense. They can play really well on offense. I've already seen that they're pretty proficient in both, but it's the rotations. They're just not getting back quick enough. They're not having their boosters on when they need them to be in there. Again, it's the empty net. Finally, Siena is able to strike on it.
Yeah, they're able to take advantage of that empty net very early on, and that's going to be super high progress for them, able to get a goal online. You can tie things up, and now Canisius, not going to be able to find another one, goes a little bit wide of the goal, and I'm Stuff tries to get ball possession once again, but here it is back toward their own goals. Now we're in the back half of Canisius. It looks like Binos tries to find one, but a Humble Potato is going to be able to block that up once again. It's going to come down and just now entering halftime here, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. Somebody has to score to break this tie.
Yeah, and there are 2 opportunities for both teams there. And I think for Siena, they were overcommitting to it. Both players tried to go for the attack. Both players tried to go for the same block. You got to communicate. You got to make sure you're not overcommitting players, because then you're just going to be left wide open. So they really need to make sure that they're on the same page with this.
Absolutely, and I always talk about you need to have a team of 3 rather than 3 individuals playing together. You need to have great coordination. You need to have great understanding of the goals that your teammates are going for, rather than everybody just trying to play that hero and be the one to find those goals. We see another goal almost coming through for Siena, but unfortunately loses the boost just a little bit toward the end. A great pass from Potato onto Stuff, but Stuff is not going to be able to make that there. It looks like it's going to immediately be thrown back toward their goal, which has now been left wide open.
It seems like Siena now has been on the attack a lot more. So this goes, I use the demo just to make sure that this isn't a 3-on-3, it's a 2v3. So Siena now, they've really started to get their attack going. It seems like for the most part, Canisius were able to get a good 50-50 game, but they have been on the back leg for a bit, and it's kind of surprising that they haven't been scored on just yet. Again, their defense is still proficient, but I mean, if they want to try to score and break it open, they got to start getting the ball out of their own part of the field. It seems like every time it gets back, it's immediately just tipping the other way. Siena, they just kind of, they're playing a full game right now.
Yeah, Siena playing a great offense, a great defense, and like you said, every time Canisius gets the ball, it's got to be not even 5 seconds before it's already back in the wheels here of Siena. It looks like only a minute left, and that might be it, but a Humble Potato and I'm Stuff are not able to get the shot onto the ball there. Krasy gonna get for possession once again, but actually kind of mixed up there by Bino, so it looks like a Humble Potato there on the defense. Something we need to see from Canisius is just, like you said, a more aggressive offense. Every time they get possession of the ball, it's almost instantaneously ripped away from them, and there's another goal there for Siena. Only 41 seconds left on the clock, and Canisius all of a sudden may lose this first game.
They just never cleared it in there. It was just a little bit of a lazy float up there, the fall through, and Humble Potato. I think they kind of misjudged where it was going. They were already on their way out of the net. They weren't even looking at where the ball was. Maybe they expected it just to bounce off the crossbar, just floated right over them, and they never were able to make a play. Siena now, after being scored on first, are about to take this first map of the series. I mean, only 33 seconds left. Canisius, they have to step up now.
Yeah, it's going to be that now or never moment for them here in Game 1, and if they lose this first game, of course, that's going to set a bit of a precedent, but Game 1 does not have to dictate the remaining games. We almost see a great goal coming in there, but it's going to be another phenomenal block from Vinos. Going to go a little bit wide here as Krasy gets possession of the ball, and realistically, you don't have to score again if you're Siena. You can just stall for the next 10 seconds, just knock the ball around for a little while.
You just got to cross it, and you got to make sure it hits the ground because it will stay in the air indefinitely after 1 second until it finally hits, so you got control, you got to pass it. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to pass it right into I'm Stuff because they can keep this alive, but they're just going to let it hit, and Siena's going to take a very close Game 1.
Yeah, very close Game 1 indeed, and I think had that shot at the end there just been a little bit lower, it would have gone right into goal, but unfortunately, you know, that is the what if, and we now have to move into the what has happened. It looks like Siena is going to be able to take that first game with not exactly relative ease, rather close indeed. They were able to only win 2-1, so a pretty low-scoring game from these two teams. We see, what is that, 11 shots on goal here coming out from Siena, and only 7 coming out from Canisius, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's like we talked about Canisius, they just were not able to play the offense like they needed to.
Yeah, and it was interesting because at the beginning it looks like they were in control for the most part. They had a very good attack and a very good defense, but once Siena started getting their groove around 3 minutes, they were on the attack so much more. And it wasn't even necessarily that they had possession for like a long time, because you could see that at certain points Canisius would get it back, so that Canisius could never hold on to it enough themselves. They would immediately get it stolen away. They would just kind of go for these big clears. There would be no one to follow it up once they got it down the field. Siena was like, all right, you know, we'll take that like a pass. Basically, we'll just run it back all the way, and then, you know, unfortunately, that second goal, that was the one time I feel like they didn't clear it quick enough for Canisius, but still a close matchup. I would not count Canisius out of this by any means just yet.
Yeah, I most definitely agree, and you have to get 3 wins on board in an attempt to win this here, so we need to see Canisius do... They've got time to turn it around, right? So they've lost 1, but like I said, the first game does not have to dictate the following games. The thing about Rocket League is these players can have a phenomenal Game 1 round, and then there could be a 10-0 in the second one between the two very same teams. So it's really going to come down to if Canisius can turn this aggression around.
Let's see if they do, and they're going to have aggression right off the front, right off the kickoff, and that's what you need if you're Canisius. Took them 2 seconds to score.
Yeah, we said it and they listened. I'm Stuff. Vinos gets a little bit overzealous there, and Stuff takes full advantage of that opportunity. A goal already online for Canisius. 2 seconds. That's got to be the fastest I've seen in quite a while, just immediately off kickoff there.
Yeah, they just overplayed their hand, like you said. And now we'll see if Siena can answer early on. They might be able to. They do. Wow. And in 8 seconds, 2 goals have already come through. And you said this before, it's basically a 0-0 game.
Yeah, it's just going to be that 0-0 Siena. You know, a great goal comes out for Canisius, and it's pretty much just ripped away in simultaneous there. Siena scores immediately after. Back to that 1-1, which, you know, like I said, is pretty much that 0-0 as it's tied up all over again.
Anything you can do, I can do better is basically what these teams are playing at right now. Siena has been just a slightly bit better, but I think we're seeing a different side of Canisius. You know, before it wasn't as aggressive, like they had attack, they had offense, but now you can see they're really committing to it.
You know, they're definitely committing to this aggression and this offense, and they really want to try to get an advantage. They want to get an early point on board, and they want to take that early lead, but they tried so desperately to do here at the kickoff of this matchup, and we almost see a goal come through, and I'm Stuff with a pretty good defense and a great demo onto them as well. So a very brief 2.5-second 2v3, but it's actually going to arguably be an advantage of Canisius because I'm Stuff is going to spawn right there near their goal. So that 2v3 turned into a 3v3 before you can even realize the demo has come through. A pass onto Humble Potato and Stuff with another open goal, but no, we might see a block, a phenomenal block there coming through from Siena, going to keep things tied up.
But you see there, again, like they're overcommitting. They've got 2 people going for it, and the person who's a lot closer, they're in the worst position to make that save. So, you know, just make sure that you know there's someone behind you, have them take it. There you saw the perfect setup. They didn't have too many people there. They had the one person who's in goal go for that save. That's the kind of play that we need to see from Siena if they want to take this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Siena, they need to be playing, like you said, a little bit less overzealous. They need to be coordinating who is going where, what is the goal, who's going to attempt the score, rather than everybody trying to be that hero, everybody trying to block the ball. You want to keep somebody, usually a player, in that back half of the field just to be ready to block goal when necessary. And it looks like Siena isn't exactly following that pretty common strategy that we see.
Yeah, now they might have a good opportunity, but Lex is playing mid. I've noticed that Canisius now, they're not like overcommitting themselves. It's a kind of different overcommitment where it's more positioning than people going for the ball at one time. They've got someone roaming mid, and that's exactly how you want to play this. You don't want to have everyone attack all the time. This is an open net, and I'm stuffed. Just doesn't have the rotation. Just isn't able to speed.
There's no boost. Yeah, they just did not have the boost online, so unfortunately they're going to miss that open net, and that would have been huge here for them to take that early lead, but they're going to find it anyway. A little bit more well-deserved, if I do say so myself. A Humble Potato is going to be able to get that great goal there. A bit of a pass, actually, from Krasy, so a Humble Potato is able to take advantage of that pass coming from an opponent, putting themselves up 2-1, 3 minutes left on clock.
And I feel like I'm, kind of just repeating myself at this point, but you saw that there were two players from Siena both going left. They were both going for that ball. Again, you only need one person to contest it. You don't need to have everyone there. That's why the goal was wide open. That's why Canisius was able to get that goal, be able to break the tie, and now they're going to have a lead once again. The question is, can they hold on to it? Because last game, they were not able to.
Right, they had a lead, already once in this game, and it was demolished pretty much 6 seconds later. So now we have to see if they're going to be able to hold on to this lead a little bit more consistently, or is Siena really going to kick it into fifth gear and be able to score once again to tie things up? We've just now crossed over that halftime, so only 2.5 minutes left on the clock now. So Siena, they're only down by one, but they're definitely running out of time. A Humble Potato actually just ruined I'm Stuff's goal there, so they're getting a little bit overzealous to get the ball, I think.
Now, just both teams are making similar mistakes, and I think that's why they've got similar records. It's all about communication. It's all about teamwork. If you're if you're tunnel visioning the ball too much, you're going to be running into your own team. You're actually going to be hampering your team more than you're helping. That was another. And can you just now, you can just tell this game versus the first one, they are just on the attack the entire time. This is the aggression we saw from Siena. Now it's going the other way.
Yeah, they've really flipped the aggression here on its head, and they are definitely taking full advantage of this opportunity. Every time we see Siena get the ball, now it's going to be Canisius just ripping it away from them, and definitely a great opportunity as well. And they're in that unusual position where they are up by one, so realistically, they don't have to score. Of course you want to, because, you want to get that score as high as possible, but realistically, if Siena doesn't score, you win, right? It's as simple as that. Even though you're only up by one, if you can just stall for 90 seconds, that's a guaranteed win here.
It is, but it's so much harder than, the amount of time Siena had to kill, because a minute and a half is much more difficult than just 30 seconds, so they're going to have to play defense. I think, you can play tempo, you can just play for control, play keep away, just don't let anyone else from Siena get it. But it's just back and forth right now. They haven't really been able to stabilize on their defense yet. Now they're being aggressive, and I like that, actually. But you don't want to get too aggressive, because then the counterattack can completely just smoke you.
Yeah, the counterattack can definitely rip you apart just a little bit. 60 seconds left on the clock now. Canisius, they're in a winning opportunity. They could guarantee another matchup coming through, of course, and they want to make that happen, but no, it's going to be Humble Potato making sure things don't get tied up quite yet.
Yeah, with 45 seconds now, it's looking less and less likely for Siena. They've had some great opportunities to get the ball into the other side of the field, but they're not getting shot chances. It feels like the complete opposite of the last game, where it's like the teams have reversed roles, because right now it is the takeaways coming through for Canisius, and that was almost a very mistimely cross. It doesn't end up putting the game away for Canisius. They almost had an opportunity to get the third goal.
Yeah, the third goal there would have been huge for them. It pretty much would have guaranteed the win here with only 20 seconds left on the clock, but unfortunately it's not going to be coming through for them quite right there. Only 12 seconds left. They're really even more in that keep away position than they were earlier, but as you mentioned, the ball's got to hit the ground. It's got to hit a flat surface, or it stays in play until it does. Going to be 2 seconds left on the clock, and this is a golden opportunity for Canisius. That's going to be it. They are going to be able to take game 2 here.
2 games, 2 different results. Both teams have a win on the board, and this is how you want to start off your quarterfinals of any sort of playoff situation. You want to have those close games, especially when they're so close in seeding. I'm loving it so far, and again, I just feel like they swapped roles a bit there. We saw that Siena was actually, they were on the back foot for most of that. They did get that equalizer very early on, but after that, they really didn't have much attack.
Yeah, like you said, there really was not an attack there, and you can see that in the shots. We saw 8 coming out from Canisius, and I think only 4, maybe 5 coming out from Siena. But less is the general point there. So Siena, they didn't get to play that aggression like they wanted to. They didn't get to come out swinging in the way they were able to in Game 1, and Canisius took full advantage of that. I touched on this a little bit with Marist and Fairfield earlier, but a lot of these teams really thrive when they are the aggressor, when they can decide the momentum and the tempo of the matchup. But as soon as they're forced into that defensive position, that's where we've seen a couple of teams. That's where we start to see the cracks in their armor.
And you usually have the liberty if you're ahead to set that tempo because
right.
you're not playing from behind. You don't have to risk as much. Like, I mean, sure, you can have the game tied up on you in a heartbeat, but then you're not still in like a loose scenario. Like if you're behind by 1 or 2 goals, even though it's very close, you kind of have to just find those openings, those cracks in the armor for the team that's in the lead. You can't necessarily play the game you want to, which is really unfortunate, but that's just kind of the cards you're dealt in that situation.
Yeah, you have to play the cards that you're dealt, right? That's what Rocket League is all about. You can never know. All teams are not going to be playing the same. Some teams are going to be more or less aggressive than a last team that you've gone up against. You've always got to be constantly adapting your play style. And that's something we've seen a little bit from Canisius here. Maybe they just weren't warmed up in that first game, but in the second game, like we talked about already, their aggression just came out of nowhere and it paid off.
Yeah, and we'll see if that aggression pays off. What's paid off is our partners here at the MAAC conference. Thank you so much to Hercules Tires, Tropicana, Ready Nutrition, and Geico again for helping us put on amazing events like this. And this has been an amazing series thus far, even though it's kind of only in its early stages.
Yeah, like you said, only in the early stages, and it's already been phenomenal. We are not looking at a shutout here on either side, no matter which team is able to take this away. It's not going to be a 3-0 victory coming through. And now, it's already half a minute off the clock. This may be the longest we've gone without a score between these two teams.
Yeah, I feel like the first matchup had one pretty quickly as well, and then there is, it's been pretty back-to-back. Every time that one team's opened it up, it's been another score kind of following it pretty shortly, and then it's kind of that long pause between the actual winning goal. That could have been an opening goal. It was not, and I really want to see how Siena does now on the counterattack. That's where they looked really good in match 1. That's how they won it. So far, they just have not been able to get as many shots as they have previously.
Yeah, and I think they went for kind of a long-distance shot there, but it was not going to pay off. Went a little bit wide. A Humble Potato taken out by Krasy in the mix-up, but going to respawn in that 2.5-second time window. Already a minute 15 off the clock. No goals on board quite yet, but this may be a great opportunity for Canisius. A great block coming out from Krasy.
Great block, and now can they actually move the ball down the field? That was a bit of a misplay for Canisius, it looks like, but they had someone there to wrap it up, so I thought there might have been an opening. There isn't, and this is where things get very dangerous for Siena. You never want to have all 3 of your players in goal. That is,
right.
That's like I think that's like the cardinal sin of Rocket League.
Yeah, no, that definitely is not going to be... the cardinal sin of Rocket League, indeed. That is not how you're going to want to be playing. So thinking about it moving forward, hopefully they recognize that opportunity, they recognize that disadvantage they gave themselves, and we don't see that mistake again. But with how quick you have to be thinking here in Rocket League, they may not even be able to notice small mistakes like that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's why communication is important, right? You got to be able to communicate in those very quick, instantaneous moments. This game moves so quickly. You have to make sure that you're on top of things. And when, sometimes you just play instead of think, that's where mistakes happen. So, I mean, it's great to have instincts. We got to make sure that everyone is at least, understanding of what the other person's doing.
Yeah, no doubt. And something I say very often is you want to be playing proactively rather than reactively. You want to be going in with a plan. You want to try to stick to it. And of course, plans are going to crumble, right? Like if you go into the plan and you get 4-0'd in the first game, like maybe you need to change it up a little bit. But as much as instinct may be important, you also want to rely on an engagement or a plan going in. You don't just want to be playing off instinct.
Exactly, and that's why you sort of have strategies that you come in with. You've got ideas of how you want to play your attack, how you want to play your defense, but that can go out the window very quickly if the other team is kind of beating you at your own game.
Right.
So then it's also about adjusting on the fly. There's a lot of things that go into this game for something that only lasts about 5 minutes. There's a lot of brain cells at work, and we're past halftime, and still no one has broken this score. It's been back and forth. No one has been on defense for too long, and no one's been on the attack for too long either.
Yeah, quite the mighty slow burn here, but that may be a no off the crossbar. Vinos is not able to get that quite. Yeah, we almost saw a pretty much full field goal there for a moment, but unfortunately still sitting at that goose egg on both sides.
No one has been able to break this tie. We've seen a lot of ties in the series
thus
far, but that is going to be it. All the way from downtown. We got to see how this one was set up.
A Humble Potato there, looks like Lixa, and then a Humble Potato, I'm not even sure that wasn't intent on goal. I just think right place, right time, and boom, able to put it away with 1:43 left on the clock. It's just, like you said, a downtown shot if I've ever seen one.
And I'm not sure if anyone from Siena would be able to get there, but I don't know if you saw at the end, 2 players ran into each other on the defense. I think they were both just a second too late anyway, but, stuff like that could be a difference maker, but it's going to be tied up immediately again every time, Septulans.
Yeah, you keep talking about this and you're absolutely right. It's just every time Canisius scores, Siena's like, whatever. And they just knock one in as well. So we go from that 0-1 to that 1-1 instantaneously. And I mean, I think we even saw Canisius do that once, where it was just an immediate goal from both sides. Now, I mean, 90 seconds, somebody's got to do something, right? Or we're going to get forced into our first overtime.
Every time that first goal is scored, immediately
Every
the next
time
one comes through. But I think statistically, the team that's been scoring first is the team that usually has been winning the series.
Yeah.
Because Canisius scored first, second game, the first game, Siena scored first, second game, and that's where we're at right now. Reverse, actually. It's Canisius that scored in the second game. I was right the first time. But, what I'm saying is basically, doesn't matter if you're tied up after you get that first goal. It's about getting that first goal. It'll eventually lead to the second one. At least that's the story that we've been, seeing so far. But this could be a time for the scriptwriters to change their pace. But Canisius does not want that by any means.
We got 60 seconds, so somebody's here is going to have to change their pace in just a moment. We see almost a goal from Glixer there, but great defense coming out from Vinos again. A Humble Potato's going to get ball possession. No, actually, going to go a little bit too high there, so not going to find it. We almost see a goal coming in from Siena, but Glixer with that phenomenal block on goal here. 40 seconds left. Somebody's got to do something, right? But it's seeming more and more likely we're going to get forced into overtime. Krasny just barely able to knock the ball up in the follow-through, just not able to come through it.
Yeah, and this is where, now we think about the idea of that golden goal scenario where it goes to overtime. And I know yesterday there was about a 7-minute game, I believe, or 2 days ago, 7-minute game in overtime for EGFC Rocket League. So we've seen it, become one heck of a matchup there. It goes more than double the allotted time. Neither of these teams really seem to be in any position right now to score. That demo, I think, is going to keep it out of Siena's, potential of actually getting scored on there. But 5 seconds left, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 5 seconds left. The Humble Potato. This is going to be your now or never moment. Do we see the goal? Oh! It hit the ground right in front of the goal. It would have gone in. It would have gone in. Oh, Canisius, that is a disaster. If Potato was able to just throw the ball a little bit higher, that would have been the end of the game. But now, forced into overtime, they could lose this.
Yeah, they could, but I think Canisius has had a little bit of a better attack since that second game that they won. It seems like, although it's been pretty back and forth, they've had
that's it.
great openings, and I'm stuffed. They try to kind of go for that bounce off the back of their car, but instead it goes the wrong way. That's a very unlucky angle.
That's so unlucky. They just stopped moving. The ball bounced right off the back, and again, Canisius going to miss that goal. Hopefully they don't pay the price of the game, but no, I'm Stuff is going to be able to throw it a little bit back into the back half of Siena. Set up for a phenomenal goal, but nobody's there quite yet. Is it going to bounce in? No, it's going to be taken off the top right of the goal there. 45 seconds into overtime, and the thing about Rocket League, folks, that clock just keeps ticking until somebody scores.
Yeah, there are no ties in Rocket League. There is only victors and losers, and neither of these teams wants to go down to match point. Both of them tied up until now, but something's got to give, and Siena might have just found their opening.
Yeah, this could have been an opening for Siena, but we see a little bit of a mishap coming through from them. I think 2 players went to hit the ball, knocked it up into the air, and then Canisius was able to take advantage of that opportunity immediately afterward. Ball going to be knocked back up toward the goal here on the side of Canisius, and it looks like we're going to see a great block coming in from Glix, but you don't want to leave that goal wide open. Humble Potato with a phenomenal disruption there, and it's going to prevent that setup.
One thing I've noticed as the series has developed is that I think the aerial game for Canisius is just a tiny bit better. I've noticed that Siena, they go for those 50-50 balls, and generally they're just under or overshooting their leaps. They're actually able to, get a bit of the ball on the end of that one. But a lot of time, like when they could keep it in on the attack, when they could just bounce it all the way back, they are just missing it. And Canisius, they are not they're not letting up those opportunities. A lot of the time, they are meeting the mark.
Oh, that's an open goal for Vinos if he's fast enough, but all 3 players from Canisius are going to be able to get in the way. And speaking of open goals, it's going to be Glixa with the score for Canisius College. They are going to put that second game away, putting them up 2-1 over Siena so far.
It's a great shot. Again, I wouldn't say it's all the way from downtown. I'd say it's more like midtown at that point,
Yeah.
Almost near the center mark, but just a great vision. I mean, both the goals from Canisius came on very long angles, so they're seeing the entirety of the field. They're not taking too many risks where they're just trying to run it all the way down. And I think that's really smart, really efficient gameplay, especially now because they win this one, they move on to the semifinals.
Yeah, also I want to point out right away, 16 shots on goal from Canisius, 6 from Siena. So that's crazy that the score would be as close as it is 2-1, and Canisius shot on goal 10 times more than Siena. That is crazy.
I think that just shows that Siena had a pretty dang good defense, honestly. And I mean, they were finding opportunities here and there, but it's the same thing we talked about in that first matchup. A lot of time it's just one person running it in, and then the teamwork just isn't as good as it is for Canisius. And you can have that kind of one person who is your shot taker, that person who's the playmaker. But if they're being denied, if they're getting teamed up on, the rest of the team has to step up. The other 2 that you're working with, they have to be there for the rebounds. They have to try to find second and third opportunities. But now Canisius, they gave them the first matchup that they lost. They have not been able to give up anything else since then, and look at this. Look at how close this was.
I'm so glad we got a replay of this. Look at that. That could not have been closer without going into goal. Like, that was literally a couple of feet away from going in there. And you mentioned during that first overtime that we saw that earlier this week, there was a nearly 7-minute overtime in a matchup, and I was one of the casters for that. It is the longest overtime that I have ever seen in Rocket League. It was like 6:48 or something wild, but that was already an almost 3-minute overtime between these two schools.
We'll see if there's any overtime once again. That was a great one, but Canisius now, they're on series point. They win this, they move on. Siena loses this, they go home. So all cards are on the table currently. Everyone is going to be playing their hearts out here, and I think we're going to have to see Siena be a bit more aggressive. They have started to find a bit of footing here. They're going to find the opening goal, and you know how this goes. I think Canisius is probably going to score right after this one, but Siena opening things up is going to give them a great bit of momentum right here.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised to see Canisius score within the next 10-15 seconds, but who knows, maybe that streak finally gets broken. You never know until it happens, right? And as that goal is going to pop up on screen all over again, we see what could be another goal, but now goes a little bit wide here for Siena. Pinos, wrong place, wrong time, and now it looks like nobody's going to be getting a goal straight away quite yet.
Yeah, just this is a reminder. Every game in this series so far has been decided by one goal. There's been no monumentous lead for either team so far. So we could see a 1-0 affair by the end of this. Who knows? Maybe Canisius gets fully shut out. They are, you know, now they're kind of putting themselves together after giving up that first goal. But Siena, I mean, you can just tell, like, they're playing like their lives depend on it. They're playing a bit more aggressive than they have the last two. And I think they realize, you know, if we can stay on the attack, then our odds of losing are much lower. We just need to keep playing aggressively, and that was almost a great opportunity there.
Yeah, almost a phenomenal opportunity indeed. And you touched on this already. We very well could look at a 1-0 as our final goal of this game, because Siena, I mean, they had a phenomenal defense, in particular in that last game, able to block, 14 out of 16 shots on goal. So their defense, you know, almost flawless, but every defense is going to have some cracks in the armor here and there. And we saw an open goal from them. I think both times that Canisius was able to score was because there was no defense rather than a poor one. But Siena now, they've got that lead. We've already got a minute and a half off the clock. And Canisius, if you take this, you could really put things away here. But Siena, they want to fight to stay alive.
Yeah, you have to stay alive. This is now or never. And their defense, again, it's been pretty good. And you see there, like, they get it out a little bit, that's immediately taken away, so they need to make sure that they're able to dribble, that it's not just being given back immediately. So I think passing might not be the name of the game right now. Maybe you just try to take it yourself for a little bit, but then when you actually get it onto the other side of the field, that's when you look for those passes. That's when you look for the crosses, maybe the aerials up top, just have it bounce off something, and then you follow it up, kind of that hook, line, and sinker. But it seems like just so far, again, it's the same old for them, where really one person is running it down, and then sometimes there's someone there. That time there's no one there, and Pinos was so close to getting the second goal.
I always feel so bad when players go for an open goal and it bounces off the crossbar like that and it just does not go in. That is so unfortunate. Now, the double tap coming through, is that it? Oh, it's going to be set up there. A great assist coming through in Krasi. Going to find that second goal. This may be the first game we see with a score separated by more than 1 point.
And that was the teamwork that makes the dream work right there. Krasi coming in at the perfect time, is able to nudge it in. Doesn't have to use too much speed. Doesn't have to hit it too hard. It's so important because, you know, a ball that's just loftily floating in already, you don't really have to over-accelerate there to get it done. It looks like Siena is looking for more. You know, this could be a 3-0 lead, but good defense there from Canisius.
Yeah, great defense coming out from Canisius. They've got 2.5 minutes here to score at least twice.
And that is a lot of time, but with how this game has gone, I mean, it just, I don't know what's possible. That is, oh no, Glexa just lets that soar right over their head. Siena, they have awoken, knowing that this is going to be their last chance here. They're going to, I mean, it looks so unlikely now that Canisius can finish it up in 4.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've got 2 minutes, right? They're going to need to wrap this up here. They want to score 3 times to tie it up, 4 to take the lead. So it's definitely going to be a tall order from them, and it's something to keep in mind, like you said, that Siena, they've woken up. They got into a fight or flight, and they chose fight. They're going to come out swinging here. 2 minutes left on the clock. Canisius still sitting at 0, but now Siena with a 4-point lead here. This, like you said, will not be wrapped up in 4.
And they have, you know, I don't know if they were taking a bit of a snooze after that first matchup, but this has been the most dominant performance we've seen. And, you know, after that first goal was a little quiet, but the second one has really, like, brought out the beast in them. That's 3 in a very short amount of time. I want to say like 30, 40 seconds, maybe even less than that. It has just been all Siena all the time in this game 4.
It absolutely has, and speaking of dominant performance, those who may be curious, Fairfield was able to beat out Manhattan in a 3-0 on our second channel, so Manhattan has unfortunately taken the L there, but Fairfield, we talked about them as one of the front runners here today.
Yeah, they're going to be moving on to the semifinals, and we'll find out who faces them in our next matchup after this one, but this one is still going strong. And
very much.
I think it's going to go to the tiebreaker map. I mean,
agreed.
Maybe you could come back from 2-0, but 4-0 with a minute 30, 90 seconds, that technically is enough time for you to score, but Siena has just not taken their foot off the gas pedal. They are still chasing a lead right now.
You know, Siena, they are just 100% bringing the heat, and every single availability, they are up 4 points. And like you said, coming back from a 2-0, you know, pish-posh, easy peasy. But then you look at 4-0 with 68 seconds on the clock. I don't think you're going to be able to come back from this one.
Yeah, and I mean, the storyline has been rewritten a little bit because we've seen this very close score. We've seen it like 2-1 every time. It's only been a 1-goal differential, but it's still always been the team that scores first that ends up walking away. This is going to be one brought back for Canisius. 52 seconds left, Septons. Is it possible for them to get 3 more and tie this game up?
I mean, you've got realistically less than 20 seconds per goal here if you want the opportunity to tie things up, force an overtime, and 20 seconds per goal, that's doable, but that is tough, right?
Especially you gotta go for it off the kickoff. Like, you gotta go for it right
exactly.
now.
Exactly. And when you haven't had possession of the ball for 75% of this game, like, it's going to be extra hard.
Yeah, and them not winning that kickoff makes you feel like they're probably not going to have too much. Maybe they get 1, maybe they get 2 more. I feel like that's probably the most you can get. So you can make this game really close, but realistically, 40 seconds left. It's probably not going to be doable, but it's good that Canisius wasn't shut out. I think that's really important because they were coming into this with the lead. This was game point for them. They aren't able to get it done, but they're able to at least get something on the board.
Yeah, they want to get something on board, and that's just great for team morale as well. You don't want to get shut out in terms of, you know, a 4-0, even a 1-0. You just want to get a point on board to feel a little bit better about your offense. And, you know, maybe this time around, we know Canisius may need to flip to that defense again. The offense was working out really well for them in the 2 games they were able to win, but it looks like Siena has really taken that play style and adapted to it. So it looks like Siena maybe kicked a little bit further into that defense.
Yeah, and that is going to be Siena tying things up. So we are going to be going to that fabled match 5. This is going to be the end-all, be-all at the very end of the day. And, I mean, look at the shots. I mean, it's always going to be the person who's shooting more. That's kind of how it's been. The teams that have been shooting more have been winning all the time, and it's 9 versus 4. So Siena, they really stepped it up here. We already knew their defense was pretty good considering that they only allowed 2 goals on 16 shots in the previous matchup. But now they took destiny into their own hands.
Yeah, they really did. And like you said, that fabled game 5 going to be coming up in just a moment here. It's going to be tied up, as you can see, directly below me. It's going to be that 2-2, so definitely keep an eye on that because you're not going to want to miss this, right? It's going to come absolutely down to the wire. We see Canisius take an aggressive lead at one point in Siena. They just come out swinging. Like I said, they get forced into that fight or flight situation. They choose fight. They get super aggressive in that 4th game, and they're able to tie things up again. Yeah,
and what's crazy about this is, you know, they're just playing to fight against Maris after this. So, you know, you win the battle here. Can you win the war? Because Maris is the #1 seed right now in MAAC, one of the best teams overall in Rocket League throughout EGFC in general. So that is going to, like, this matchup is going the distance, and it's going to be, I mean, there's 2 things. Is it going to be exhausting? You're going to feel really tired going into the next one, or is it going to have you hyped? Is it going to have you pumped up? You're going to be all ready to go because of how close and how good this series was overall. We'll have to figure that out as it goes on, but we still have to see how this one actually ends.
Absolutely. I was going to bring up fatigue as well because tournaments like this where you have to play time and time again in a row, like players are going to get tired both physically and mentally. This really does put a bit of a strain on you to play so many games in a row like this, but hopefully these players have what it takes to go up against Marist and who knows, maybe give us the upset of a lifetime. But now one of these teams has to win it right here, right now. Canisius and Siena, a humble potato with an immediate demo onto Siena. So that's going to be an open goal for just a moment, but no, there is Vinos able to spice things up a little bit and swap ball possession in favor of Siena.
I think this is, you know, sort of the same attack we saw earlier from them, where they're really just kind of making sure that they're pressing W the entire time. They don't want to, you know, take their foot off the gas for a second. And I guess you have to be careful because, I mean, their defense has been good when they're all there, but both teams, mostly Canisius, but Siena too, has struggled with the counter rotation when they've left goals wide open. They've let nets just have perfect opportunities to be scored on. So we'll see how these. I feel like offense obviously is very important, but I think the team that has the better defense overall is actually going to be the one that wins out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the defense from Siena, we've talked about, just has been absolutely phenomenal all the way around. They were able to block an insane amount of shots so far. Now it looks like Canisius, you know, you've got to find another crack in that armor. You've got to get forward. You've got to get aggressive, maybe to go through their defense rather than up to it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. We'll see if they're able to play that exact style. For now, it just seems like, again, a lot of clears, not a lot of follow-up. It seems like it just keeps going back and forth, back and forth. No one's actually able to kind of get a finger on the pulse here and continue to drive it all the way down. We'll see if they get it, but no, just more and more takeaways. I mean, the tackles are good from both sides.
Yeah, the tackles are great from both sides, and the takeaways from everybody here have been huge. This is going to be a bit of a slow burn game, right? We're already a minute and a half into the matchup, still no points on board, but last time we saw one like this, Siena wrapped it up in a 4-1, so there's absolutely plenty of time to score.
We'll see who is able to break this open first. It does seem like, though, Canisius has had momentum kind of swing in their favor now. It's going back and forth a lot, and now Canisius has had a strong hold here on the attack. Siena, they need to get this out. They cannot let Canisius get shot after shot after shot.
Yeah, no, they cannot allow this. They cannot be forced into that corner to play only defense. You need to be getting a little bit more in these 50-50s. You want to get some opportunities and some possession of the ball a little bit more consistently. But Siena, again, we saw a couple players go for the same idea, and it almost didn't work out for them. But there it is, and actually going to get a goal here for Siena. It's almost halftime online, and it's going to be 1-0.
Yeah, and this is the first real long ball shot that we saw from Siena, and that was just purposely placed right into the corner once again. And Canisius, they had a chance to contest that, but they just were not able to get into it in the time. All about having boost, right time, right place, and that they just could not get the block. They could not get the save, and you know how the story goes. The first team to score has always been the victor. Canisius College, they're going to know that. They're going to know exactly how it's been because they have been living through this series. They have been playing it, so if I'm them, I mean, they've got to take it up to 100 right now.
Absolutely. You've got to, no pun intended, pedal to the metal, kick it into fifth gear here. Your fight or flight needs to choose fight, again, like we have seen from Siena already. But Canisius, you've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds to tie this up, let alone take the lead and the win here today.
And I think right now, if you're Canisius, just like go back to your team play. I mean, that was what was, I think, setting you apart earlier on. You were able to get a lot of great crosses, a lot of great setups for goals. They've kind of diverted down to just having one person run it at a time and see if that works. I mean, we saw Siena, they tried that earlier too. It didn't work out super well for them, but that was almost a great team play. Just, again, just mistimed it by about a second.
Yeah, mistimed by just a small moment, but Glixa there with a phenomenal block on goal, trying to make this 1-0 and not 2-0, trying to keep things lined up just a little bit. 1:45 left on clock. Canisius, you are running out of time. Even though the score may be as low as 1-0, you still lose if we hit 0 on the timer, and this is the score.
Yeah, only a minute 30 now, and Siena's doing a great job at keeping the ball, you know, in their hands and also just, like, keeping it alive. I think that's the biggest thing, just kill time. That's what they're playing for. They're not, right. I mean, like, another score really helps you. It's not necessarily going to put the game away because there's still 60 or 120 seconds left, but the more time you kill, the easier it is. Not 120, I'm saying it's 80. 80 is the kind of time that was left at that point, but now it's a lot less. Yeah, I mean, right now, Siena, they're just kind of kicking the ball all over the place, and he just can't really get any shots off.
Yeah, we're just seeing an opportunity where Canisius just can't get possession of the ball like they want to score. 60 seconds left on the clock, and immediately their setup's going to be disrupted. So we're going to see Siena with the ball once again. But again, okay, so here comes the disruption from them. A Humble Potato may go for a bit of a cheeky goal here, not going to be able to find it. 45 seconds left. Canisius maybe take it out right here.
Yeah, it looks like Canisius is not going to have too many opportunities left. It seems like now they're just shooting from afar. They're hoping something finds its way in, but because of that, the counterattack has come through. Oh! And with that goal, I think Krasny has just secured Siena's spot in the semifinals.
Yeah, and as a reminder, folks, this is single elimination, so if Canisius is not able to tie this up here, they will be completely removed. There is no loser's bracket, but like you said, Siena, they may have just secured their spot here in the semifinals today.
Yeah, I think that with 30 seconds left, I was saying maybe if you get the kickoff goal that we saw earlier, that might give you just enough time to get an equalizer later on, but Siena realizes, you know, this is probably in their hands now. There's not really much that Canisius is going to do, so they're just going to keep trying to run up the clock, try to run up the score if possible, just keep the ball away from Canisius, and 15 seconds left, it's almost all decided here.
Yeah, it's essentially not quite impossible, but seemingly so. 7 seconds left on the clock. They'd have to score now and then again immediately after kickoff. So unfortunately, Canisius College will not be joining us in the semifinals here later on today. This is going to be a bit of a disaster for them. They fought hard, they fought valiantly, but Siena College with the turnaround, able to take 2 games back-to-back and win here in Game 5.
And a bit of an upset. Siena was the underdog coming into this. Only 1 seed lower, but regardless, you know, still a bit of that great success story from a team that didn't do as well during the regular season. So, you know, sometimes it's just about playoffs. Sometimes you just got to make it to playoffs and see if you can get the best of yourself in that kind of matchup. You know, when the lights shine brightest, that's usually when you perform the best, and Siena gave us one heck of a performance here today, especially in the match before this one.
Absolutely. Siena did a phenomenal job. Like you said, a bit of an upset, a bit of a turnaround coming out from them. Canisius College, unfortunately, just could not play up to par. And we're actually going to get to talk to somebody from Siena in just a minute here, I believe. So we're going to be throwing it to a quick break. We're going to get an interview in just a couple of minutes. Don't go far, guys. Today has just started. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Beanos for a very quick interview because he's got to get to another game immediately after this one. But Beanos, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am good. How are you guys?
We are doing awesome after watching a phenomenal game and a great turnaround from you guys there up against Canisius. So my first question for you is going to be, not only were you the underdogs coming into this match, right? You were one seed placement lower, but I mean, what does it mean for you guys to be here in terms of 16 weeks of a regular season? You have fought all the way up to this. How does that feel?
It feels really good knowing that we can actually get somewhere, and it just feels really good being a part of something, especially for my favorite game to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you guys brought the work. Like I said, underdogs. You made a huge comeback.
Yeah.
Very wholesome answer there. I love it. I want to ask specifically about that fourth game in that 5-map series. I mean, that was the most dominant performance we saw across the board. You guys were able to win that one 4-1. So how did that make you guys feel going into that fifth and final deciding game?
I think after taking the 2 losses from Canisius, that 4th game was a real confidence booster, so that really helped us going into the 5th game.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think, great confidence booster there and some great opportunities as well. But, Beanos, we will let you get back to the team and get ready for your next game because it is coming up, before blink and you're going to be back in that game. So thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Best of luck.